Hey guys, this Slater Magic here, and I cannot believe I forgot to make a video about this topic. This is one of the most common MTG mistakes I see, at least with one particular mechanic. So when this mechanic becomes big, people tend to mess it up. Now, a lot of the people who are used to taking the game extremely word for word literally do actually do this correctly, but a ton of new players or people who just don't quite get the feel or the personality of Magic, they tend to do this wrong, and it could very easily be seen as, purposeful cheating, even though they do it on accident, because it gives you a huge advantage. Plus, there's a way to do this correctly and completely and utterly make a joke out of it, which is what most of us do. So, this has to do with scrying multiple times or scry triggers. So let's say an effect says, whenever a creature dies, you scry 3. So what you would do is then pick up the top 3 off the top of your library, and you would put whatever you want on the bottom in any order and keep whatever you want on the top in any order. You could put all 3 on the bottom, you could leave all 3 on top, you could rearrange them, you could leave them just the way they were, you can do whatever you want top to bottom with those 3 cards. You do it simultaneously though. But let's take an example that's actually in standard right now, Contraband King, which honestly a lot more people should play this card. It's amazing. I mean, come on, people, it's a 1/4 lifelinker for 2. I mean, come on. It states that whenever an artifact, note it didn't say non-token, enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. So let's say you cast a spell like Servo Exhibition, which drops out 2 colorless servo artifact tokens at exactly precisely the same time. So it's obvious, scry 2, right? No, that's completely incorrect. You scry 1 twice. So you're probably thinking, okay, well, that's the same thing. Well, not exactly. It depends. I mean, it really isn't, but it might emulate the same thing. Here are the 2 things that can happen with these 2 cards in combination. So basically, 2 scry 1 triggers go onto the stack. Doesn't matter what order because they're identical. And so you perform the first scry 1. So you pop up the first card from your library, look at it, and decide, do I want to keep this on the top of my library or do I want to put it on the bottom of my library? Now, if you leave it on the top, the second trigger goes off and you look back at that same card and say, okay, I'm leaving that on the top still, and then you plop it back down. If during the first scry trigger you did not want to keep the card, you wanted it on the bottom of your library, you would then flip it up, say, oh no, I don't want that, put it on the bottom. Okay, the first trigger is resolved. Then the second trigger, scry 1 again, so you would take the new card on the top of the library and pop it up and say, oh, look at this one, I'll keep it or I'll put it on the bottom, whatever you want. So they are resolved independently of each other, but in certain cases, it would act like you're scrying 2 because you just saw 2 cards. Now, the same type of thing happens if you got 2 triggers stacked that said scry 2. You would then look at 2 cards at once and then decide, oh, I'm going to keep 1 on top, 1 on the bottom, we'll say. Okay, then you go for the second trigger of scry 2, and you would pop up the card you just left there and the one under it. And then you can, flip the order of them. You can bury the other one on the bottom of your deck. You can keep it there, whatever you want. So that would be kind of like a mixed result. So whatever multiple scries are stacked, just in your head, remember that you're going to pretty much scry until you find, 1 or more cards to keep, sort of. Like, I wouldn't literally do that, just resolve it the way you're actually supposed to resolve it in order. But as far as thinking about what you're doing, that's what you're doing. That would help you make the first scry decision. If you've got like 4 triggers stacked up, you could think, well, oh, they're all redundant, so I only get 1 shot at it. No, that's not correct. If you don't like the first card, ditch it, then the second card, ditch it, then the third card, ditch it. But you have to make those decisions one at a time because it would be 4 stacked up triggers of scry 1, for example. But in your head, when you're trying to make the first decision, you would think, well, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about this card, but I have potentially 3 more cards to bury, on the bottom of my deck if I don't like them as well. So I'm probably going to get to a better spell or card or whatever. So yes, I will put it on the bottom and then continue to resolve them. So that's really all there is to it. I mean, nothing too complicated about this one. It's just don't screw up your scries. Don't just add them together. And if you see anybody doing it, just tell them, hey, like I'm pretty sure you're not cheating, but you just gave yourself a giant advantage. If you got 3 scry 1s and you just picked up 3 cards off the top of your library, that just is a huge mathematical advantage, obviously. So then just tell them not to do it again and explain how it really works. Oh, and then tell them to subscribe to my channel and watch this entire playlist from this entire series. Shameless self-promotion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.